The first sign that something was wrong was not a ruin or a broken wall rising from the earth. It was the silence. In a wide valley where rivers should have sung against stone, where birds should have traced the air, there was a stillness so complete it felt deliberate, as if the land itself had agreed to forget. The wind moved carefully here, brushing the grass without sound, as though afraid to wake what once lived beneath the soil. Long before the modern world learned to name itself, before maps were drawn and borders hardened into lines of ink, there existed a civilization that understood time differently. They did not measure their lives by years or reigns, but by seasons of memory. To them, history was not something written, it was something carried, in the rhythm of work, in the stories told at night, in the way stones were placed with intention rather than force. They called themselves the Arellans, though no one alive remembers that name now. It survives only in fragments, hidden in half-erased symbols and echoes of sound that no longer belong to any known language. The Arellans believed names were living things. To speak a name was to give it breath. To forget a name was to allow it to die. Their cities were not built to dominate the land. They rose from it as naturally as roots from soil. Homes curved rather than stood rigid, shaped to follow the path of the sun and the movement of wind. Streets were narrow and winding, designed not for speed but for encounter, so neighbors would meet each other every day, forced into conversation, into recognition. At the center of every settlement stood a hall of remembering. It was not a palace or temple in the way we understand those structures today. It was a place of listening. Elders gathered there at dawn and dusk, reciting the events of the past aloud so they would not fade. Children sat in circles, absorbing the stories not as lessons but as inheritances. The Arellans believed that forgetting was the most dangerous force in the world. Fire could destroy homes, floods could erase fields, but forgetting could erase a people entirely. They were farmers, astronomers, and artisans, but above all, they were observers. They watched the stars not to predict conquest or fortune, but to understand patterns, how everything returned, how nothing truly vanished, only changed form. Their calendars were carved into stone spirals, each turn representing not a year, but a remembered moment. Metal was rare in their culture, used sparingly and with respect. Stone and wood were preferred, materials that aged visibly, reminding each generation that nothing was permanent. Even their tools were designed to wear out, forcing renewal rather than accumulation. Trade connected them to distant peoples, but the Arellans never sought to expand. They believed growth without memory led to collapse. When traders came, they were welcomed, fed, and listened to. Knowledge was exchanged freely, but the Arellans kept no armies, built no walls. This would become their greatest vulnerability. As centuries passed, the world around them changed. Other civilizations rose with sharper edges and louder ambitions. Kingdoms learned to measure power in territory and weapons. Writing became a tool of control rather than remembrance. Those who wrote history decided which voices mattered. The Arellans noticed these changes. Their elders spoke of a growing imbalance, of memories being replaced by records that could be altered or destroyed. They debated whether to adopt or withdraw. In the end, they chose neither. They chose faith, in the belief that truth, once lived, could not be undone. They were wrong. The first invasion did not come with fire or bloodshed. It came with curiosity. Outsiders arrived impressed by the Arellans' peaceful prosperity. They asked questions, drew sketches, copied symbols. The Arellans shared willingly, unaware that knowledge, once removed from its context, could be reshaped into something dangerous. Soon after came the second wave, settlers, then rulers. They brought new systems of ownership, demanding land be measured, taxed, claimed. The Arellans did not understand this language. How could land be owned? How could memory be taxed? Resistance was quiet but firm. The Arellans refused to abandon their way of life. They continued to meet in their halls of remembering. They continued to speak their names aloud. That was when the erasure began. The conquerors realized that the Arelans' strength did not lie in weapons or walls, but in memory itself. So they targeted the stories. Halls were dismantled stone by stone. Elders were scattered, forbidden from gathering. Children were taken and taught new languages, new histories that left no room for the past. Records were rewritten, maps were redrawn, the land was renamed. Within a few generations, the Arelans ceased to exist, not through massacre, but through forgetting. Their descendants lived on, unaware of who they had been. Their words faded from use, their songs lost their meanings. Yet, erasure is never complete. Centuries later, farmers began to uncover strange stones while plowing their fields, spirals carved with impossible precision, alignments that matched no known calendar. Archaeologists argued over their purpose, unable to place them within any recognized civilization. Some dismissed them as anomalies, others labeled them ritual objects of a minor, insignificant culture. But a few listened more closely. They noticed that the stones were positioned to catch sound. A whisper at one end of a spiral could be heard clearly at the other. They found pathways aligned with sunrise on solstices long forgotten by official histories. They discovered traces of pigments made from plants no longer native to the region. And then there were the stories. Local villagers spoke of a place where time felt thinner, where dreams came easily, where people felt watched, not by something hostile, but by something patient. Elders told tales passed down without explanation of people who remembered everything, who feared forgetting more than death. These fragments, scattered and fragile, began to form a picture. The Arelans had not vanished, they had been buried, under soil, under language, under the weight of other people's histories. Their civilization was erased not because it failed, but because it threatened a world built on control rather than connection. Today, their legacy survives quietly, in the instinct to gather and tell stories, in the discomfort we feel when history seems incomplete, in the moments when standing among ancient stones feels less like observing the past and more like being observed by it. The Arelans believed that memory was a responsibility, that each generation carried the past not as a burden, but as a promise. When that promise was broken, the world lost something irreplaceable. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that they were erased, but that their warning was ignored. Because even now, civilizations rise believing themselves permanent. Records are trusted more than lived experience. Stories are shortened, simplified, and forgotten. And somewhere beneath our feet, the stones wait, silent, patient, holding memories of a people who understood that history does not disappear when it is erased. It waits to be remembered again.